What up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the purpose of operating systems. So in this video, you will learn about the purpose of operating systems, to where concepts such as interface between applications and hardware, disk management, process management, scheduling, application management, memory management, device management, access control protection, and types of operating systems will be discussed. All right, interfaces between applications and hardware. An operating system, also known as an OS, is the most important software that runs on a computer. It manages the computer's memory and processes, as well as all of its software and hardware. It also allows you to communicate with the computer without knowing how to speak the computer's language. Without an operating system, a computer is essentially useless. Hardware is unable to function without device drivers that are loaded into the operating system, and applications, also known as software, cannot perform tasks without instructing the operating system to control devices such as opening files, loading files into the RAM, and performing computations. A device's operating system is loaded right after the device is powered on and provides not only the connection between applications and hardware, but also the user interface, which enables you to use both applications and hardware by typing or using a mouse, touchscreen, or touchpad. As a side note, a device driver is a file that contains information that enables a device, such as a printer, scanner, drive, video card, network interface, etc., to connect to an operating system. Let's talk about disk management. So, disk management is a Microsoft Windows utility introduced in Windows XP as a replacement for the fdisk command. Disk management involves the process of setting up an internal or external hard drive. It enables users to view and manage the disk drives installed in their computers and the partitions associated with those drives. You can access the disk management using the following methods. Let's see. Oh, wrong window. You can access the disk management using the following windows. You can use the Windows key plus R to open run. Then you would type disk management or disk mgmt.msc into the empty box and then click OK. Alternatively, you can open disk management in the computer management and right click start and select disk management. All right, so in the Mac operating system, initial hard drive setup is performed using the disk utility. As a side note, you can access the disk utility by searching for disk utility with the Mac operating system spotlight, or by clicking Finder, Applications, Utilities, and Disk Utility. In the Linux console, also known as the command line, you can type in the tool, the command fdisk, and that is used for initial hard drive setup and to create and delete partitions. Let's talk about the processing and management scheduling. It says, process management involves various tasks like creation, scheduling, termination of processes, and a deadlock. Process is a program that is under execution, which is an important part of a modern day operating system. The OS must allocate resources that enable processes to share and exchange information. It also protects the resources of each process from other methods and allows synchronization among processes. In Windows, use the Task Manager to see currently running processes in a GUI, which is known as a graphical user interface display. From the command line, use the command task list. To schedule tasks, use the task scheduler. In macOS, use the activity monitor. To see currently running processes, use the automator to schedule tasks. In Linux, use the console command ps to see a snapshot of all currently running processes. To see the most active process in real time, use the command top. To schedule tasks, use the console command cron. Let's talk about kill process and end task. So to kill a process, also known as ending a task, use the appropriate tools for the operating system. In Windows, Task Manager can be used to kill a process. From the command line, use the command task kill. In Mac, use the activity monitor to kill a process. From the terminal, use the command ps-ax to view the PIDs of a running process. A PID is a processing ID. Then use the command kill PID. In Linux, you can kill a process while running the command top with the command K, stands for kill, option. You can kill a process by its PID by using the commands ps or top with the kill command, which is the same syntax as a Mac operating system, or by the process name with the command kill all. Application management is the process of managing the operation, maintenance, versioning, and upgrading of an application throughout its life cycle. So let's talk about Microsoft Windows. So in Windows, apps include their own installation routines. Windows can provide compatibility settings for installers and for running apps designed for older versions that do not perform properly in the current version of Windows. Compatibility changes can be made interactively from the app's properties sheet by opening the compatibility tab or by running the program compatibility wizard or program compatibility troubleshooter. So this is a screenshot of the Windows application compatibility tab. In Windows 10, the primary location for programming, listing, repair, and removal is the apps and features section of the settings. However, control panel's program section can also be used as in earlier versions of Windows. So here's a screenshot of Windows apps and features section. Windows application settings are stored in the Windows registry. Registry settings are normally made by the program installer and uninstaller and by user options when the program is run, but the registry can be manually edited with the regedit command if necessary. Registry editing is sometimes necessary if a program cannot be uninstalled completely by normal means. Always back up the registry before making any changes and be very careful when making changes with regedit. Windows 8 and later supports the Microsoft Store, previously known as the Windows Store, as an approved location for apps. To manually update an app from the Microsoft Store, open the store and click or tap the three-dot menu button. Click or tap Downloads and Updates, then click or tap Get Updates. In all versions of Windows except Windows 10 in S mode, users can also download apps or install apps from media, such as Windows 10 in S mode can only install apps from the Microsoft Store. To limit app availability to the Microsoft Store, only with other Windows 10 versions, use the Installing Apps menu in the Apps and Features. User access control, known as UAC, prevents standard users from installing apps unless the user provides an administrative name and password. So if you try to install an app and you don't have the admin, you don't have admin rights, it's going to pop this screen up and ask for those credentials. Let's talk about Mac. So in a Mac OS, applications can be installed from the App Store or from a DMG archive file. After opening the file, drag and drop, drag the app's icon file to the application folder to install it. By default, Mac blocks apps that are not from the App Store or from an identical developer. To bypass the block, hold down the Control key and click the app, then select Open. If a warning message such as "This app is from an unidentified developer, are you sure you want to open it?" if that appears, click Open to open it anyway. To update an app obtained from the App Store, click System Preferences, App Store, or open the App Store itself. If the Show Updates button is available, click it. Select the operating system upgrade and update apps desired. To uninstall an app, drag the app's icon to the trash. Enter your password on the Finder dialog box to confirm the deletion. Linux apps are usually installed from a package manager. In Debian-based distributions such as Ubuntu, you can update the apps list in the package manager with this command. You would type in sudo app-get update. To install an app from the package manager, use the following command: sudo app-get install the package name. Just replace the package name with the actual application name. To remove an app installed with sudo app-get, use sudo app-get-purge remove whatever the application's name is. When prompted to confirm the deletion, type Y and press the Enter key. Android apps are installed through the Google Play Store. To update an app, open the Google Play Store, open the menu, and tap My Apps and Games. To update a specific app, tap its Update button. To update all apps, tap Update All. To uninstall an app, press and hold the icon and then tap Uninstall on the pop-up menu that appears, and then click OK to confirm. Apps on iOS are installed through the App Store. To update an app, open the App Store and tap Update. To update a specific app, tap its Update button. To update all apps, tap Update All. To uninstall an app, press and hold the icon. The app icons on screen will begin to shake, and a pop-out menu will appear with an option to delete the app. Let's talk about memory management. So memory management is a form of resource management applied to computer memory. The essential requirement of memory management is to provide ways to dramatically allocate portions of memory to programs at their request and free it up for reuse when no longer needed. This is critical to any advanced computer system where more than a single process might be underway at any time. Operating systems assign memory needed by each process, making sure that each process uses only the memory addresses allocated to it, and when necessary, uses virtual memory, also disk space, as a substitute for memory. These processes are normally automatic, but some adjustments are possible. Windows. So virtual memory is a memory management technique that provides an, quote, idealized abstraction of the storage resources that are actually available on a given machine, which, quote, creates the illusion to users of a very large main memory. Virtual memory swaps data and memory to and from disk space when there is not enough RAM for all operations. To adjust how virtual memory is allocated in Windows, search for System and choose System in the control panel. Click Advanced System Settings, then System Properties. Advanced tab will open. Click the Settings button in the Performance section, then click the Advanced tab, and then click Change. macOS. A swap file is when your computer is running low on memory and it starts storing things on disk as part of the virtual memory. macOS does not support changing the swap file size manually. Freeing up space on the system drive or upgrading to a larger drive will enable Mac to create a larger swap file when needed. Linux. To see how memory is being allocated in Linux, open the console session, also known as the terminal, and use the command free. To see the location and size of your swap space, use the command swap on-show. And this is a screenshot showing the swap command there, or a swap file. Also, for a system being used for production purposes, the swap space should be twice the memory size on the system. So for example, a system with 2 gigs of RAM, the swap size should be 4 gigabytes. Device management. So device management is the process of managing the implementation, operation, and maintenance of a physical and or virtual device connecting via a USB, SATA, Thunderbolt, or other input-output ports. It is a broad term that includes various administrative tools and processes for the maintenance and upkeep of a computer network, mobile, and or virtual device. Talk about device management with Windows. The primary method for managing devices in Windows 10 is by selecting Settings and Devices. However, the Device Manager, which is available from the control panel or the system's properties sheet, can also be used. With devices, the user can add hardware, view connected devices, pair Bluetooth devices, Configure mice, pens, Windows Ink, keyboards, and autoplay settings for USB devices. With Device Manager, the user can view normally functioning and malfunctioning devices, update or roll back device drivers, and diagnose malfunctioning devices. Device management with Mac. So in Mac, click the Apple icon in your upper left corner and then click About This Mac System Report to display system information. All the possible hardware categories are listed in the hardware section. Click a category to expand it. If you click an item category that is not installed, a message informs you that no devices of that type are installed. If you click an item category that is installed, you will see device details. Linux. If you are using a Linux installation with a GUI, a graphic user interface, you can use the settings menu to manage hardware. However, you will need to use command line utilities such as LSPCI, which stands for List PCI Devices, -NN for additional details, LSUSB Hub stands for List USB Devices, LSCUP stands for List CPU Feature Speed, etc. For a comprehensive look at all hardware devices, buses, etc., use the command sudo lshw, stands for list show. To temporarily remove a device until you restart the system, you can use the /sys command. Let's talk about access control protection. Access control is a way of limiting access to a system or to a physical or virtual resource. In computing, access control is a process by which users are granted access and certain privileges to systems, resources, or information. Some of these include passwords, no password, no access, user group permissions controlled by a network server, or a member of Group A can only access network resources assigned to Group A, etc., or by the administrator of a computer, in which administrators can access all resources. Standard users only can access only their files and their resources. And also accounts for remote services, such as only a bank customer can access the electronic banking function. Windows, Mac, and Linux all support user group permissions. Let's talk about types of operating systems. So there are a plethora of operating systems in the computer environment. Here's a list of some of the most popular. You have mobile device operating systems. So here are the most common mobile device operating systems. You have Android, that is used on almost all non-Apple smartphones and tablets running ARM processors. Many different versions of Android are used by different vendors. Some vendors use unmodified Android, whereas others, such as Samsung, they customize Android for their devices. Updates to Android for a particular device are provided by the device vendor. iOS is used on all Apple smartphones and tablets. iOS devices use ARM processors. Apple provides iOS updates for its iPhone, iPad, and other touch-based products. Then you have Windows Mobile, that is used on a small number of smartphones. Windows Mobile, like Android, is available from third-party mobile phone vendors. The current version of Windows Mobile is Windows 10 Mobile. It has features similar to those in Windows 10. Windows tablets also run standard Windows 10. Let's talk about workstation operating systems. So major workstation and desktop operating systems include Windows, Mac, and Linux. These operating systems support common Office productivity suites such as Microsoft Office and OpenOffice. They can connect to a local area network and join a domain or workgroup network, and they can connect to the internet and support file sharing. Let's talk about Windows. Windows runs on Microsoft and third-party tablets and laptops and on third-party desktop computers and technical workstations. Currently, it supports 32-bit and 64-bit processors made by Intel and AMD. The current version, Windows 10, is GUI-based and distributed as a service that is updated frequently. It is optimized for keyboard, mouse, touchpad, and for touchscreens. Switching modes according to installed hardware or user preference. Windows 10, like previous versions of Windows, also has a command line mode for used primarily for system management and diagnostics. Windows 10 is available in various editions made for various types of computers and uses. You have Windows 10 in S mode, formerly known as Windows 10S, that is made for PCs, tablets, and 2-in-1 PCs, which are tablets/laptops. It is pre-installed on systems that are used in enterprise and education markets where system management and security are paramount. You have Windows 10 Home is made for PCs, tablets, and 2-in-1 PCs. You have Windows 10 Pro, has all of Windows 10 Home features and adds additional features such as domain networking and BitLocker full disk encryption. You have Windows 10 Pro for workstations, which is designed to support up to 4 high-performance CPUs and up to 6 terabytes of RAM, along with the new file system called REFS and persistent memory. And then you have Windows 10 Enterprise that adds application threat protection, device health, application and user environment virtualization, and other features in Windows 10 Pro. Enterprise is designed for large corporations. You have Mac. Mac runs on laptops and desktops sold by Apple. Mac is a 64-bit operating system. The current version is macOS 10.15, also known as Catalina, and it is GUI-based. Like its predecessors, Catalina also has a command line mode, which is your terminal, which uses many commands similar to Linux and is used primarily for system management and diagnostics. We have Linux. Linux is available for a wide variety of computers and can be run on a 32-bit or 64-bit processor. Unlike Windows and Mac, Linux is open source. Linux is based on Unix, and there are many distributions, also known as distros, available from many different vendors. The most common Linux distributions are those based on Debian, including Mint and Ubuntu, and Red Hat, including Fedora, RHEL, and CentOS. Linux is natively run from the command line, but most distros contain some type of GUI desktop. Linux can run on less powerful processors with lower RAM requirements than Windows, which makes it a useful choice for extending the life of older, slower systems. Let's talk about server operating systems. A server operating system, also called a server OS, is an operating system specifically designed to run on servers, which are specialized computers that operate within a client-server architecture to serve the requests of client computers on the network. We have Windows Server. Windows Server 2019 is the latest version. Windows Server 2019 supports physical and virtual servers with more RAM and processors than its predecessors and supports more types of networks and server loads than its predecessor. Windows Server supports domain networking, which enables workstation users to log into any workstation on the domain with the same credentials. A domain can contain multiple physical networks and is easier to scale to accommodate larger networks than a work group. We have a Mac OS server. At one time, Apple offered a separate version for its OS for servers. Currently, Mac OS server is available for Apple at a low-cost add-on for standard Mac OS. Mac OS server includes support for network and user management, connections to high-speed storage networks, and Mac OS and iOS clients. We have Linux server. Linux server distributions are usually based on the same code as Linux desktop distributions. The difference include the following. Server versions do not include a GUI. Server versions do not include desktop productivity apps. Server versions include email server, file server, web server, clustering, container support, and other server-specific functions. Now, clustering. Clustering is a technology that enables multiple physical servers to work together for better reliability or better performance. Clustering support is available in Windows Server 2008 and later versions by installing the failover cluster feature. Mac OS Server does not support clustering. Containers. Containers are collections of apps that can be easily moved from one server to another as long as the server uses the same operating system. Containers are faster and easier to set up than a virtual machine. Containers are supported by Windows Server 2016 and most Linux server distros. Common Linux server distros include Ubuntu Server, Red Hat Enterprise Linux Server, and SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. Let's talk about embedded operating systems. An embedded operating system is a type of OS that is embedded and specifically configured for a certain hardware configuration. Hardware that uses embedded operating systems are designed to be lightweight and compact, forsaking many other functions found in non-embedded computer systems in exchange for efficiency at resource usage. This means they are made to do specific tasks and do them efficiently. Some examples of embedded OSs and computer combinations include ATM machines, or CNCs, which are computer numeric control machines for machining, precision tooling, network routers, etc. Microsoft Windows IoT, the Internet of Things, is the new name for its embedded Windows operating systems. Embedded versions of Linux are widely used in small single-board computers such as the Raspberry Pi, internet routers, set-top boxes for streaming TV, network-attached storage, and mobile media players, etc. Firmware is a software program or set of instructions program on a hardware device. It provides the necessary instructions for how the device communicates with other computer hardware. Firmware is typically stored in the flash ROM or the read-only memory chip of a hardware device. On desktop, laptop, workstation, and server computers, a firmware chip called a UEFI chip is used to store essential low-level startup and configuration options. However, on many embedded devices, the firmware chip on the circuit board is used to store the operating system. Because firmware is often stored on a flashable chip, also known as a reprogrammable chip, it is possible to upgrade embedded operating systems on many devices. Let's talk about hypervisors. A hypervisor, or a virtual machine monitor, also known as a VMM, is a computer software, firmware, or hardware that creates and runs virtual machines. A computer on which a hypervisor runs one or more virtual machines is called a host machine, and each virtual machine is called a guest machine. A virtual machine is a software emulation of the hardware in a working computer. The VMM sets up emulated motherboard chipsets, USB controllers, hard disk host adapters, video cards, and other components of an actual computer as part of the virtual machine, along with setting aside either an expandable or fixed amount of hard disk space. After a hypervisor creates and configures a virtual machine, you install the operating system and apps desired into the virtual machine to have a working emulated computer or virtual machine. The hypervisor is used to start the virtual machine, and depending on the RAM, processor speed, and features and available hard disk space in the physical computer, the hypervisor can run on several virtual machines at the same time. There are two types of hypervisors. You have type 1. It's a virtual machine that works directly with the host computer hardware rather than being installed inside of an existing operating system. Type 1 hypervisors are often referred to as bare metal hypervisors. And then you have type 2. That is a virtual machine that runs inside of an operating system and carves out RAM and disk space from an already running system. All right, so that is our class. So let's go ahead and do some check on learning. First question is, a standard Windows user must provide an administrator name and password when which of the following prompts appear? Would it be UAC? Would it be RAM? Would it be DMG? Or would it be YUM? So a standard user must provide an admin name and a password when one of the prompts appears. The correct answer would be UAC, stands for User Account Control. Like I told you in the previous video, you guys are going to have to get familiar with these acronyms, because when you take the exam, they're probably going to list a whole bunch of acronyms in the question, and they're going to expect you to know what the acronym stands for. You visit my website. I actually have a resource section that lists all of the acronyms associated with this particular certification. Question number 2. An ATM running Windows is using which of the following types of Windows? Is it Windows Embedded? Is it Windows Server? Is it Windows 10? Or is it Windows Mobile? An ATM machine, which is running which of the following types of Windows systems? It will be Windows Embedded. Remember, an embedded system or an embedded operating system is a specially designed operating system that is designed to perform one function, primarily one function and one function only. So when you go to an ATM machine, you stick your card in there, you enter your PIN, you expect to pull out some money. That is pretty much all you can do with an ATM machine for the most part. You want to have multiple servers work together for better functionality. You need to enable which of the following? Would it be virtualization, clustering, hyperthreading, or access control? You have multiple servers that you need to work together. The correct answer would be clustering. So in clustering, basically you're corralling a bunch of servers, programming them up to all function together to perform one main task so that one server doesn't get overwhelmed with all of its requests that are coming from clients, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so in summary, we have talked about the purpose of an operating system where we discussed the interfaces between applications and hardware, disk management, process management and scheduling, application management, memory management, device management, access control and protection, and different types of operating systems. So if you want more information on this, please visit my website, Technology G, to get read up on the latest and greatest to help you properly prepare to pass your CompTIA IT Fundamentals Certification exam. And until next video, peace.